All right, let's get started. So welcome to the third session of our four-part virtual series, Demystifying Modern PLM. This event is co-hosted by Share PLM and OpenBOM. I'm Heather Long from Share PLM and I'm your host. I'd like to thank everybody for attending this live session today. If this is your first session that you've been able to attend, then welcome. To start, I'm going to do a quick introduction and then we will get right into the presentation. So as always, at the end of the session, we will have time for a Q&A. And so you can ask your questions during the presentation and using the question and answer panel of the webinar. And then we will answer those questions at the end. If you missed the first two sessions of the virtual event, you can find those recordings on our YouTube channel. So in this event, Demystifying Modern PLM, Oleg Shilovitsky, the co-founder of OpenBOM, a leading SaaS digital network-based global platform, and Helena Gutierrez, who is the co-founder of Share PLM, a leading education technology company, are going to focus on sharing their knowledge and experience of developing modern PLM systems. Today, we will also hear from Steve Hess, the Director of User Experience at OpenBOM. Today's session will discuss products, rethinking your products for the digital age. So in this session, we're going to discuss the ins and outs of modern products and the data that you need to define them in the modern software world. So without further ado, I will let Oleg start this great presentation that we prepared for you today. Oleg, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, and good morning and good afternoon. Thank you, Heather, for the introduction. And I'm Oleg Shilovitsky, and in the session today, we will talk about modern products and what means modern PLM product. And I would like to start from giving you some example about the process that we are all have a chance to experience at least once in our life because we are all driving cars. So I wanted to introduce you to the transformation that happened with the driving experience for the last 30 years. So I remember myself going to trips to Europe. And the one thing that I was always remember that I need to take with me on these trips is this book. It's a Road Atlas of Europe. Then I know if I have this atlas, I can go in any places and I can find whatever I need. So 30 years later, I was a couple of years ago, before this pandemic, was traveling to London. And I knew only one thing that I was afraid to forget or make it somehow not operatable. And that was my phone, because I knew the moment of time I have my phone and I will be able to plug my phone to the car, I will have everything else somehow, where I need to go and what I need to find. So the perspective of this transformation that I want to bring you are two main points. The first is that we have seen the transformation of driving experience going not overnight, but changing gradually, with developing of many services that became available for us through the different devices. And we are using it for driving. And some of these devices initially just presented as a map in a digital form. And some of these devices or services first introduced us to traffic, and then many others. And then everything became more sophisticated and more intelligent. So I would like to think you about the transformation that will be happening in developing of the product lifecycle management applications or services, how I would like to talk about them now, over the next 10 or maybe more years. And think about what and how this transformation can happen and what does it mean for the industry. To give you an idea of field is that I would like to show you this slide. We present 100 years of difference in car development. So on the left, you can see Ford Model T that was developed in the for the Rouge factory. It's a huge factory. If you never heard about this, includes everything that's capable to work to produce everything from steel, glass, rubber to the car eventually. So it's a single place where you manufacture everything. Now, just for example, the BMW supply chain is hundreds of suppliers, thousands of places, and the multiple assembly plants working together, bringing parts and components. And that's a very typical example for the modern manufacturing. So what you can see is that the network is a key difference. So what was a single place, a single application, if you think, now it turns to be networks. And those networks first needs to somehow to be operating, and second also can be optimized. So we'll give you another aspect on a very important convergence that happening in the modern manufacturing and PLM space is a convergence of virtual and physical spaces. So what you see on the left side is focus on the virtual space, on the product development. This is what we knew PLM and PDM first as a system that capable to help us to manage engineering tasks and manage engineering development, manage data. But these days, a transformation is happening, and we are getting to manage also physical products. We're getting information from these products. We want to monitor them, and we want to manage them as manufacturing companies are moving from the business model of selling products to business model of selling services. Like we are not buying tires, we're buying mileage. We are not buying turbines, we're buying hours. And there are many other examples that you can bring in this space that will be very simple. So convergence on virtual and physical, also a very important differentiator of and characteristic of modern PLM system. And what brings me finally to the question and definition of software as a services. So what we developed before was a product that was delivered in some way, like let's say CD or downloaded installers, installed, configured a particular company, and used by this company. So we turn now in the way of developing services. And those services, like an example that I brought before in my driving transformation experience, the services are developed all the time. They gradually improve. They're getting feedback from customers, and they are adding new functions. They're adding new features. They monitor and improve. So it's a live ecosystem of services that we can experience, in which one side is a service developers, software vendors are bringing their services online, and the second group is like consumers of the services, manufacturing companies, engineers, contractors, that consuming those services, using them, and these two groups are live and interoperating together because those services are improving all the time. So what we will talk in today's sessions more about how to develop those services, and we will share our experience of developing the services with examples that we will bring from OpenBOM, and would be happy to answer on questions that you will have. So I will turn it now to Helena with the questions. Thank you.
Hello.
Helena, please take it forward.
Hello, hola a todos. I love that slide, flying the plane and building it at the same time. Yeah, my first question, how different is modern PLM development?
Yeah, thank you. A simple question, but the answer would be probably long. So I will start, and I will ask Steve Hess, our Director of User Experience, to speak about this more. So like I mentioned it earlier, OpenBOM was developed continuously for the last few years. As many other services that are available online, those services are developing all the time. And we have a framework how to develop the services, and I will ask Steve to share more about how we do it. Steve, please take it over.
I sure will. Thank you, Oleg, and thank you, Helena. That's a great question, and I want to go back to that airplane analogy. As I often say to Oleg, I'm like, give me a few minutes to get the landing gear done, okay? Because we are definitely flying the plane and building it as we go. So if we think about that, we have the benefits of this modern age and this modern system in our development, and we rely heavily on the modern agile process when in developing our product. And what does that mean? What does that mean to us? Well, it says that we make decisions and we act quickly, and we deliver frequent updates to our product. And of course, we're not putting a CD in a sleeve or a disk and sending it out anymore. So we have this SaaS platform that serves us, really very quite well, serves us and our customers quite well, as long as we utilize it in the right way. So, so we make these decisions. As Oleg said, we have these frequent releases. We have had 80 of them and counting right now. And in each one of these sprints, as we refer to them as, we have to balance our customers' needs along with our product roadmap, along with our product roadmap. And we bring that together, and there's a lot of conversation that goes on inside the company about, getting the proper information about customers' needs and the proper information about our roadmap, and bringing that together and making those key decisions in what we're going to work on in our next sprint. We listen to our customer as they tell us about their business and their business processes, and we don't impose the conventional wisdom of PLM on top of them. So we're the goal of each one of our releases is to deliver incremental value improvements that meet the needs of our customers as they're going on their journey with OpenBOM and PLM. So I hope that helps give a little insight into how our development is a little bit different than the conventional.
Maybe one question to be a bit more precise. How does that work? Is it so that you are talking to customer and they are requesting new features, or are you also looking at the data? What kind of things?
Sure. That's a great question. So we have many avenues of input, many ways to collect information from our customers. And one of the ways that we do that, of course, is the traditional, customer has an enhancement request. They send it to our support channel, and it, results in a ticket, which gets assessed and all of that.
Right.
But while that conventional method works well, a better method is to really get out and get to know our customers more deeply and understand their process, and to listen to the problems that they're trying to solve. What are the reasons that they came to OpenBOM, and how do we turn that into a set of requirements that make it into our product? Again, in an incremental fashion, knowing that, I have 1,000 kilometers to go before I need the landing gear is helpful to understand that. Having a plan to have it done by that time, but also communicating with our customers that they see the progress, that the landing gear will be done by the time we get there, to continue that metaphor. So we have a number of channels of input from our customers that result in those requirements.
Right.
Yeah, just to build on top of what Steve mentioned. So working with customers is part of the important element, but the biggest differentiation between a modern PLM and the old-fashioned PLM is the ability to deliver in this process that you see on the screen in the fast way. Because sure, you can go with the old-fashioned PLM, legacy systems. You can go and give feedback to the vendor, and guess when you will get the results? Maybe in 2 years or 1 year. Again, not because they do not want. It's just because technology to deliver it requires a release which happens once a year, or sometimes even less frequently. And then this release needs to be conducted, managed, delivered, tested, and then reinstalled. And sometimes it requires the upgrade process. Remember, we've been talking about this in the first session, the technology. So here it's different. So the technology enables to bring us results to customers continuously. And that's what builds differences.
Right. Understood. Very interesting. So you are also considering the feedback from the sales process, right?
Yes, correct. The feedback from all channels, and we will talk about building experience, though that would be probably the place to talk about this more.
Yes, that maybe that question comes fancy now. What is the role of product experience for you guys?
Thank you. We use a lot this word experience, and the reason we speak about experience and not products is because that's the outcome. So our customers and users are not thinking about the product anymore. They are thinking about how they interact with what we have. And what is important to understand is that the service is not only a software that runs and performs some tasks, but it starts much earlier and also goes much far on the right side of the product usage. So, and I put several examples here of what we build is a holistic user experience, which starts from marketing and sales and pre-sale activity. So the users or customers are still not using the product, they're just asking questions, or they are looking for something that starts at this place. Like a lot of online materials about what we provide, a lot of resources that we provide help them. And also interaction with us also help them. As well as goes with the product, in the past, what required for PLM is to bring implementation consulting on site. They've been working with people, installing, configuring, and then leaving customer to their own internal support. And if they don't have answers, they contact vendor. So today, it's all connected together. So customers can go to support directly with us. And that's also bring the question that Steve just mentioned, how fast we can bring new features and fixes if needed, because if you have real software, you will need to bring fixes. And then also making assessment of how well do we do, like Net Promoter Score and examples of feedback. That's something that we also bring as part of the overall experience. The customer should be able to tell us how we're doing. And I will just bring two examples of the tools and two examples of holistic user experience. On the left side, you see the website chatbot, which is a part of the experience. So you just come into our website, you will be welcomed by the chatbot that you can ask questions and you can connect directly to us. And through this chatbot, you can connect directly to the people at OpenBOM. And you will be talking to real people in a quite fast way, or if people are not available, they will be contacting you very shortly. So that's one example when we start on the very, very right, very left side, much earlier than we start with the products. My second example on the right side is about integrated support tools. So integrated support tools is something that will help you to connect to people and to change the way support is provided. So if you have a question, if you have difficulties, if you have some need to ask a question, you have an integrated tool that runs inside of application that allows you to capture the question, to capture the problem if there is a problem, and contact and get connected directly. So the differences here are fundamental because we are working together in the one system. So we are both as providers of the service and also customers as the consumers of the service work as a single environment in which we can help to our customers. And this is how we focus on the customers, not necessarily on the product.
Right.
So let's go
Yes.
next.
The next question is, how is SaaS different from traditional PLM products?
Yeah, thank you. This is one of those questions that always asked, and I almost expected to get this question because in a very, in a variety of forms, you can find a very narrow definition of the cloud. And the narrow definition of the cloud that says, look, it's a very simple. You see this computer? It runs now in your data center, and tomorrow this computer will be located elsewhere. That's the cloud. But although I will not argue, this is definitely one element of the cloud, is to be able to use a hosted infrastructure and to be able to have unlimited computing resources, which is extremely important. But at the same time, I want to alert and prevent people from this narrow thinking in which, like, we can see this way of cloud washing that happens a lot these days when everything is becoming a cloud. So go online and took on all products, took on all systems, and you will see cloud everywhere. So you will be obviously asking the question, Helena, that you asked, how to differentiate. The major differentiation is scalable platforms, unique data management, and ability to have intelligence. But I know those general definitions sometimes are not very helpful. And when you in front of something, you want to know how to differentiate between the systems. And our first session, we've been talking about technologies. And there is no sharp line which says now we're running now SaaS or not SaaS. Technologically, I can give you a couple of ideas what questions or what you can do with the software providers that give you software and what you can ask. So the first example, first question you can check or ask is how easy to create an account in the system. So if you want to create an account, as an answer is that you need to purchase the system first, define what needs to be done, and then you will get account. The hint will be that most probably behind the scene, what needs to be done is that the computing resources needs to be reserved, servers needs to be installed, and then you will get what you get. So most probably hosted system. Now, if you go and create account online at every moment of time, get on the trial maybe, so that will give you a hint that this is a system that is software as a service. And this is the service that runs all the time, that you can go and create account, which will be similar to many other SaaS services. So another example that I will give you is the example which is related to ability to share data. So when you would like to share data in the old-fashioned systems that are a single tenant, there is only one way to share data. You need to export this data out and import this data in some other places. So if you have two customers running on the same platform, if this is the SaaS multi-tenant platform, these two customers should be able to share data instantly. Again, of course, there are restrictions, access control, and many other things. But what should be obvious is that the system can share data. And if you cannot share this data, then this is a problem. So it means that there is something behind architecturally that runs differently. So another thing that you can go and you just ask question vendor about infrastructure and how often they are providing upgrades and fixes, and so how it can work. So, and again, like I said, the old-fashioned legacy systems were released once a year or less frequently. So if you want to fix something in the hosted environment, the path to fix is as long, most probably, as long as the on-premise PLM development, because it needs to be delivered, fixed, installed, fixed, and again, that's a long process. So in the SaaS environment, in the modern PLM, you run on the single code base, as we discussed in our first session. So single code base can be updated at any moment of time based on the QA processes and the release process. So the reaction should be fast. So those are three questions that you can ask vendor before you make your decision, and you will get a better understanding of what is the system in front of you.
So trials, data sharing, and releases, and that gives us a hint.
Yeah, first try to create account and start a trial. Second, data sharing, and then how often releases are happening. So those three criteria will give you an idea how, what is in front of you without placing labels.
That's very good, because that's something that it's a question we get a lot and are not always able to answer. So it's a very good hint.
Yeah, so now you have a checklist.
Checklist. Okay, great. So now let's talk about challenges. What are the challenges you see in SaaS PLM development?
Yeah, challenges, like first of all, there are always challenges, and that's it's obvious. But I would like to speak about a very specific set of challenges. And this is the customer changes are hard. And when we come to the company and we talk to users, customers are working with something. And I put these two pictures. Like the first picture, when you see this copy machine, this is called digital transformation. For many companies, they're trying to figure out how to change themselves. So somebody get the iPad, but still required to send a fax to the contractor for purchase orders. How to do it? Like, that's real. So you can put an iPad. It's maybe some advanced technologies, but the second one is a database and data management, which is totally in Excel. So now think about customers and think about challenges to make them to change, to make customers to understand the change, to understand where they need to go, to understand the security, to understand that this is actually secured and sometimes even more secured than the computer that you have in your office, because everyone can get computer to access to your physical computer in the office. Like, not everyone, but it's relatively easy. But the security model of cloud services is a much more protected. Also, there is a fundamental difference between managing documents and managing data. That's something that requires understanding. That's something that customers need help to understand it. So we do not work with documents, we work with data. We have an ability to share data and not to send documents between people. So the ability to think about information flow is a big change that should come to people's mind. So like this and many other things, focusing on people, understanding technologies, is the biggest challenge that I see in everything that we do. So make people transform, it's much harder than to create technologies that will transform them.
Right, so the people challenge is also a challenge for SaaS PLM.
Yeah, nothing changed. That's the same. But here's the difference between traditional PLM and modern PLM, that we have many tools that can help, and there are many tools that can help much faster. Like, just give you one example. So when somebody has a problem, and remember in the previous session we've been talking about sales and marketing. So somebody has a problem, he goes to Google. Somebody has a question and he get an answer in the next hour. Is different from having an answer from somebody who will come one day maybe and install some software that will help. So, and somebody who has in an hour has a question and answer it, then can try an application in the next 30 minutes and get data managed in the next hour. So the speed, it's what makes a difference, because these days everything goes fast and everyone needs answer right here, right now. You come tomorrow, you're already late.
It's too late.
So it's too late, exactly.
Yeah, I think the speed is one, and also the experience you said before, that's also something different and something easier with cloud systems that you can go and try and find out yourself. Maybe you can give us some hints of tools that can help us to develop better products.
Sure. Okay. So let's talk about tools. Like first, there are so many tools, but I will try to focus on the two big groups. So first of all, are all technological tools, and we've been talking about them on the first session. I will not address them because those are technology for product development, and what I want to focus here is about unique tools that are unique for the modern PLM framework of software as a service. So the difference is that both also on-premise tools and SaaS tools develop using software technologies. Like you can use databases, you can use Java languages, JavaScript, anything like this. All is there. So the difference is that when you run this as a service, you have tools that can help you to monitor everything that you do. So you monitor the environment because, again, you provide service. You do not sell a product. So you provide service. So you monitor the infrastructure. You monitor user experience. You monitor performance. So you can make a measurement. So once you can measure something, you can improve it. And as a company providing services, we can monitor it all the time, and we can measure it, and we can think how the next release will be improving. We have real examples of what customers do and how a system performs. Again, not in terms of getting access to data. We don't have access to data, but we have metrics that helps us to understand that performance of this particular use case is getting not as good as we wanted, and we can improve it. On communication side, we have much better tool to communicate with our customers. The video conferences, chats, all our support tools. Those are tools that we use a lot, and you can see them on our website, and we can see them on in our application that helping us. Project management support, those functions are also integrated, which means everything we want to win is speed. Because when somebody is reporting problem to us, or somebody is asking us a question, we want to get all information connected together. So as much funny it can sound, but everything we do, we use a bunch of SaaS tools to manage another SaaS environment for customers. And those are all tools that are super useful. So here's the most important part, is that this ecosystem of SaaS tools was developed significantly over the last 10, 15 years. So today, when you start to develop applications, you have all these tools surrounded you, and you can use these tools that create a great experience. And that's what's the biggest difference between delivering service and delivering product.
That's powerful. Maybe before we still go to the previous slide, I have a personal question for you. Coming from a traditional background, how did you manage to learn all this stuff, which is new and it's coming up every month? There is new tools and new stuff. How do you keep up with changes?
Well, there is no good answer on this question. So what I think what is powerful today is that our new environment, online environment, provides all these answers online. So you can connect to people, and by connecting to people and getting information online, it's much simpler to find all answers. And I know Steve mentioned this in one of our sessions. So and also we say to customers during onboarding and training, if you have a question, Google it. So because we make our information available online. So this information is searchable, and you can get to this information online. So that helps to learn. So those are other services that can help to people to find this information, including those services that we provide. So we do the same in a respectful field. So we also learn exactly in the same way, like our customers are learning about OpenBOM, like we learn about CRM systems that we use and some other tools exactly in the same way.
Right.
And all tools that we use are the same in terms of those are online services that we use for a variety of purposes.
Right. Very interesting. Okay, maybe we can go to the next question now.
Sure.
How can you develop products that customers love?
Wow, that's I think a key question, because and I will need Steve's help to answer on this question. But we said in the beginning the customers in and not per product out. So it means our interaction is different, and I will ask Steve to elaborate more about how we work with the customers. I know the different paraphrase of this question. How are you getting all these reviews from customers and stories? So I will ask Steve to elaborate more on this.
Oh, thank you, Oleg. Yeah, this is this whole topic is very near and dear, to my heart. I just have to say quickly that I've known Oleg for a long time, and I came to know him many, many years ago as a customer. So when I sit down and with a customer, when I speak internally about if I'm advocating for a feature or something that the customer is interested in my head, I vision our customer. What were they doing when they sat down and Googled how to make a better BOM? Bill of materials. What was in their head? What was the motivation for that? And it can be, there is no right answer to that. It can be the new intern whose boss came to him and said, hey, I need to buy all these parts on Monday for a 3,000 component robot. It could be the owner of a established 100-year-old company that makes pumps that's decided that they are no longer competitive and they need to become a 100-year-old startup, which we often see that emerging, that behavior emerging. So for me, asking that question, what was our customer? What were they thinking when they started the process? And then to go through the stages of the process, with them. I know that we talk about nurturing the internal champion at our customers. There's going to be someone at that company. I have been this person before at my companies. There's going to be someone at that company that has a great degree of interest or a stake in the success of our product. That person generally reveals themselves, early. And so nurturing that relationship with them and then to the rest of the company through them is extremely important. And tactically, that might mean a number of different things. Oleg, already mentioned, answering support calls quickly. Absolutely. Answer that call, not with a robot response, but with, a reply from a human, as Oleg was mentioning, and get started on it right away. Our issues from our customers, I can say for us internally, carry a certain label that identify them as a customer issue, and they get top priority to the exclusion of everything else. So that manifests itself in our product, and it helps us when we speak to our customers and say things like, hey, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm going to find out. And, do I know exactly when it's going to be fixed? Maybe not, but I'm going to find out, and I'm going to stay in contact with you. So, and then drive that to completion and get that, as Oleg mentioned, you're not making real software if you don't have fixes, get that fix done, get that new feature done that customer, that 100-year-old startup needs to take their company to the next level, and have credibility and be transparent with our customers. And then finally, ask for participation. I ask my customers all the time, hey, have you jumped on G2 and given us a review? You're making a fantastic product. Can I tell your story in my weekly blog? And if you go and check our website, we have many customer stories, and we publish them on a weekly basis that talk about the success or the journey that this particular customer or group of customers had with OpenBOM. So as I look back and think about working with customers at all stages, which is the title of this slide, it really is that customer engagement. As Oleg mentioned, what does it mean early on, that first contact with our bot? What does that mean? How soon do we jump on that? Down to when I call one of them up on a Friday and I say, hey, look, I really need a quote for for this week's blog. What can you give me? And they're like, Steve, I got it for you right now, and everything in between. So
Right.
I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Maybe one question, how do you establish that relationship with your customers? Is it just through the support, or do you have also some specific process to get in touch with your customers and hunt for those stories? And
I can jump on this.
Sure,
because the example.
Sure.
I think the example was on the previous slide. We start with them early in the process, just when they come to our website, and we continue on support. So it's all connected together. So it comes as the conversational, and also comes in the many communication channels that we build, and all these channels are interconnected. So that's how we communicate with them.
Right. Great. Thank you. I think we have a lot to learn from you.
Thank you. I hope we have more questions now as we're approaching. I think the time for questions now. So
Yes.
Do we have questions coming from outside?
Yes, we do have a couple questions. If everyone can, please ask them in the Q&A panel, which you can find at the toolbar at the bottom of the webinar. Just helps us see them a little better, but I do see a couple in the chat, so I'll try and get to all of them. So the first question is, are the servers where the client's information is kept located in the US? Some projects may have restrictions of who or where the data can be accessed from.
Yes, great questions. So OpenBOM is developing infrastructure. We use Amazon infrastructure. And as we continue to grow, we will have more servers located outside of United States. And that will be certainly part of our development. And so for some customers is less important. For some customers is more important. OpenBOM Enterprise subscription can be using servers installed in any place. But this is a part of our development, and we are pretty aware about the limitation and restrictions and requirements that imposed by multiple countries and multiple regulation bodies. So we are aware about this.
Okay. Have some clients asked to implement a basic WBS or a Gantt chart as part of your services to keep track of key aspects of the product development? Do you think this would be too much of a jump into another service?
Well, this is a great question. And to be honest, I get this question this morning from one of the prospects. And they've been asking if OpenBOM can help them with project management, which I said probably not today, not now. And again, this is part of being transparent. We want to be great in something that we do. And one of the advantages of the online ecosystem is to be able to connect multiple services. So maybe one day OpenBOM will do project management. But today, if you use some other project management tools, and I don't want to endorse anyone, but ask if your project management tool has a REST API. And if this project management tool can be interconnected with other services. So for example, you can put a task in the OpenBOM data field that will be linking directly to your project task in this online project management tool, which will help you interconnect between those tasks. You can create a work breakdown structure in the project management tool, and link to the data will be linked to OpenBOM data. It could be item, catalog, bill of materials, or anything else. So just making these relationships easy. That's where services will be growing very powerful. So we have customers that using REST API to integrate different services online in such a way. It can be also project management too.
Could I amplify that just by saying our REST API is awesome. And we have many customers that are using our product in ways that we just didn't envision. So I just wanted to jump on and say we didn't talk about that, I know, today yet, but our REST API is awesome. Thanks.
All right. The next question is, as you do or make new features, how do you ensure that new features don't break existing integrations?
Well,
we
that's another great one.
Right.
We test. Yeah.
Yes. You think about this first, you think about everything that you do as a continuously run service. So it comes very fundamentally. It's simple and complex at the same time. So when you develop products that delivered, installed, implemented, there is an upgrade process. And, traditionally everyone is relying on this upgrade process. It's complex, but it's easy to decide. Like, of course, we'll bring something new. It will be better than what we built before. And then customer will upgrade and it will be great results. It's probably was okay, 20 years ago. But what we do now is that we think about OpenBOM as a running service which runs all the time, non-stop. And when you think about this, just thinking about this will bring all requirements that you need to developers, because that will be instant questions. So what will happen if? And then we start thinking about this. And again, in the history of OpenBOM, even for a few years that we are running this, we had a history of taking off functions. And we have a history of changing fundamentally what we do in terms of functionality. So it's an interesting process, because you can change a function that you sure nobody is using, and then you wake up in the next morning and somebody said, "I love this function. Why did you destroy my love? This was my great function that I used." So we learned on this. We made some mistakes. That's happened in the past. So you think about it as a continuously run service. And that will help you to guide you towards all decisions and how to make this progress with the new features.
Okay. How do you handle the situation where two customers have capability requirements which are in conflict with each other?
Well, that's a tough one. So. I think what is a key element of getting out of these conflicts is first to have a flexible platform technologically, okay? So let's give me a brutal example. So what if one customer wants one set of fields and another customer wants another set of fields, okay? Happens a lot. So how we customize? So you make a platform which has a fundamentally flexible set of fields and everyone can define whatever he or she wants. So that's one way to answer on this, which is complex, but we can manage it by ourselves. Now the flexibility is a fundamental answer on all conflicts, because making the system flexible is the key element and the key requirement from everyone. So that's the way to manage it, like straightforward. On the other side, and this is related to experience and it's related to what Steve mentioned as understanding the customers. So first of all, when you hear about something, always ask why. Because a customer is sometimes saying, "I need this," not because this is what they need, but because this is the way how they think they need to solve a particular problem. So when you see something strange and somebody is telling you, "I want to," I cannot bring immediate example, but I'm sure we have many of them. I want this, okay? And then you think, why do you need this? So and you ask this question, why do you need this? And you ask this question, what problem are you trying to solve? And then in many ways, you will find how to rationalize these requirements and not to consider them as a conflicting. Because if fundamentally customers want practically the same thing, they just call them differently and then define them differently and they think about them differently. So that's a fundamental ways to manage it. It's the balance between flexible capabilities, flexible platform, and understanding about what customers need.
Okay. Do you use graphical databases like Neo4j tools or etc.? If so, how did it improve your services?
Sure. First of all, the simple answer, yes, we use graph database, and Neo4j is part of OpenBOM platform. And in the first webinar of this series, we've been talking about technologies and data management. So first, I will highly recommend you to go find our recording and listen to the first session. And Chris Chuck, our chief architect, was explaining that databases these days are like tools. So you think about, there is a term that we use, it's called polyglot persistence, which means that we use multiple databases, and each database is like a tool. It's a good for something. Like in this particular case, in this particular example of a question, the graph database is very good in managing relationships. So we use graph database to manage relationships, and this relationships management using graph database is much more efficient than using some other tools. But graph database is not a universal silver bullet to solve all problems, because there are some other data patterns that can be managed and must be managed using other services. That's why we use multiple databases.
Okay. Have you lost client data before? And if so, how did you handle it?
Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So we do we use multiple ways to prevent data loss. It's practically impossible to lose data on OpenBOM unless this is the feature that somehow can lead you to delete your data without understanding that you're deleting your data. So we eliminate this thing as well. So there is a continuous backup of the system all the time. So you can bring a backup in the fractions of time that goes more frequently as close you to something that you do. So there is there is a possibility of everything. That there is a very little chance of you losing data on OpenBOM, and I don't think we had ever somebody who lost the data. And if it happened in some circumstances, there are always a system that can help to bring backup of a particular customer or a particular piece of information.
Okay, that looks like all the questions. If anyone has any other questions, they can ask them now.
And we would be happy to answer all these questions later. You have our contact information, and you can use the same services. Like if you go on OpenBOM, you can just go to the chat and start asking questions there.
Well, I guess that's all the questions, so I guess we can wrap up. Thank you for everyone for coming today. We hope you enjoyed this session. It was a great discussion. And we're going to have the fourth session of this webinar on Thursday at the same time, if you can make it. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you very much. Thank you.
See you on Thursday. Bye.
Thank you all.
See you on Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.